Today, I want you to meet an essential member of my team.
You know, that's one of the reasons why I am where I am is because the transaction, that sitting at the table is so important to me. You know, that last touch. And I wish that more agents would realize that's the send-off.
What role does a closer play in a transaction?
We start by making sure that title is clear. And when I say clear title, I'm saying make sure that there aren't any clouds, defects, such as a mortgage that hasn't been satisfied.
And what is title insurance and why you may need it?
Title insurance is not telling you that you're going to have a perfect title. It's telling you that we're going to make you whole if something does come up.
All right, so today I'm joined by Jen Lutgen with Watermark Title. Jen's been my closer for a long time, been in the business for 20 plus years, even backing up 20 years ago in the real estate side of things, right?
Yep.
Maybe just give me a little background on kind of that, where you've been, where you are.
So I actually started in August of 2001, so it's been a long time. I was only 8 when I started.
Perfect.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started at a title company just as a summer job while I was going to the University of Minnesota, and I never looked back. I finished my degree. I have a degree in psychology, finished school.
Perfect for this business.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but I kept working, and I stayed in title. Shortly after that, I got my real estate license. So I had my real estate license in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And I worked for a smaller title company that had a smaller real estate brokerage. So I just kind of did it all. I had my real estate license for just over 10 years. Title had got its hooks in me. I mean, I really enjoy it. I enjoy the different sides of the transaction, the people, and I like to have my nights and weekends, and real estate did not give that to me.
What are those?
So exactly. So title was more structured, banker's hours, I could handle that. So
well, you're very good at it.
Thank you.
Have a way about you that I always tell people my closer, well, that's you, is always the last point of contact with my team. So it's really important to send them off feeling good, and you always do a good job of that. And I think you're able to really adapt to the person and the personality, and you know the business very, very well. And it's hard to find, and I'm very, very selective in who I use and are part of my transactions.
Absolutely.
So I guess you can take that for what it's worth, but I think you do a fantastic job on it. And you know, we've talked about this before. I think we've both kind of found our fits in our careers. Maybe there's parts of it we don't like, but I think we're both very good at what we do, and that's the role we should be in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It just works. So.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. And you know, that's one of the reasons why I am where I am is because the transaction, that sitting at the table is so important to me. You know, that last touch. And I wish that more agents would realize that that's the send-off. Mm-hmm. No matter what happened in that transaction, your buyer, your seller, they're going to remember that closing. Mm-hmm. So if it doesn't go well, there goes your referral.
Yep.
So
yeah, for sure.
It's very important.
And it was even more so important during COVID. I mean, when nobody was in a closing room but you and the buyer, or you and the seller, and you're all in masks, and lenders couldn't be in there, realtors couldn't be in there. So you were it. You were literally it. So
I trained myself on smiling with my eyes during that.
You guys were behind plastic. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So
we endured.
I think there's this the world of real estate. I think people, especially new agents, think. They put a deal together, they package it up, they send it off the file, and they just show up to closing 4 weeks later, and you know, some little magic happens behind the scene, and they show up, smile, and collect a commission check, and nothing. You know, they don't have to do anything else. So, just tell me a little bit more, like what role or does a title company or a closer play in the transaction?
Yeah, so you're right. A lot of people think that we sit, you know, and look pretty at a table and stamp things, because people ask me, how many of these do you do a day? That's like the number one question I get from buyers and sellers. But there is a lot that goes behind it. So essentially, you know, when you turn in a file, we have a production department, so there's even little fairies working behind us, and they're doing the title search, the title exam, preparing the title commitment. And that's basically us just ensuring, so if it's the buyer, we're ensuring the buyer that the person selling them the property is in fact the owner and does in fact have the right to sell the property, because that's a minor detail. So we start by making sure that title is clear. And when I say clear title, I'm saying make sure that there aren't any clouds, defects, such as a mortgage that hasn't been satisfied. There could be a spouse that has a marital lien, stuff like that. We're getting all of that stuff cleared up so that when the seller's conveying title to the buyer, it's clean and clear.
Mechanics liens.
Exactly, mechanics liens. And title insurance is a little bit, well, it's a lot different than regular, like homeowners insurance, life insurance. When you get a homeowner's insurance policy or auto insurance, you're paying monthly and you're anticipating an issue. So you're paying so that if you have an accident, it's covered. With title insurance, it's kind of like you're covering something that would have already happened. So, an heir that didn't get paid out years and years ago, stuff like that. I often hear people say that they don't need title insurance because they knew the people that they bought the house from. And unfortunately, it goes back to the land itself, not just who owned it. There's a lot of different reasons that people need title insurance and a lot of different things that we do on the back end. The coming to the table and the stamping is that's the easy part when all the tough stuff gets done.
On the title insurance side, give me like an example of something that has maybe come up where title insurance has covered somebody, right? So you're telling me that title insurance, when I buy a home, I get this insurance policy that says if anybody ever comes after me and says they have rights to the property or a mechanic or a roofer didn't get paid for a new roof, you're protecting, that insurance policy is protecting me.
Yes.
So give me like an example of like a really weird one or something.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, so, title insurance is not telling you that you're going to have a perfect title. It's telling you that we're going to make you whole if something does come up. Gotcha. So one of those odd circumstances, well, I had one personally, actually, in my family, but there was a property that was sold and my in-laws are divorced. So my father-in-law was awarded the property and he sold the property. However, there was never a quitclaim deed filed and the divorce decree wasn't laid out correctly. And so, 10 years later, I think it was, there was a knock on the door and they needed my mother-in-law to sign a quitclaim deed. And now, luckily, she called me knowing that I was in the business asking, what should she do? And I was like, please sign it, because I've been on the other end of those calls. But had she not, let's say, that's where title insurance would come into play. And whatever methods that seller would have needed to go through to correct that or remedy that, title insurance would have had to kick in and pay.
Like legal expenses, things like
legal
that.
expenses, yeah, stuff like that. And then there can be really simple things like a mortgage where the satisfaction wasn't recorded.
Sure.
And the title company has to come in and issue what's called a letter of indemnity, just saying, hey, we've got it, we'll take care of it. Go ahead and close. So there's big to little. Title insurance has covered like forged deeds. Oh. So somebody signing a deed that they shouldn't have been signing. Crazy things happen.
And does it last
and we see it all.
The life of the time that I own the property, or how long does it last? Is it forever?
Correct.
It's
so you
indefinite?
you buy your owner. So there's two policies essentially. The main two policies. The lender's policy, if you have a mortgage, covers the lender. Owner's policy covers you. That lasts forever. If you're to refinance your mortgage, you have to get a new lender's policy. The lenders, it's like starting over each time.
And the lenders require it.
Yep.
It's mandatory, whereas an owner's policy is not required.
Correct. It's optional.
Okay.
And a lot of times you have buyers that want to save every penny, and the owner's policy is usually what they get rid of because it's not, you don't have to have it.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of agents try to talk their buyers into getting the owner's policy because they know and they've seen what happens if you don't have it.
What percentage of people would you say don't buy it? For me, it's 100% buy it.
Yeah.
I've never, ever had somebody not buy title insurance.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I'd say it's like 98%. It's very rare.
Okay.
Like I said, every once in a while I'll have somebody that says, well, I know who I'm buying it from, or this property's been in the family since it's been built. again, that doesn't matter, but they feel confident moving forward without a policy. So,
And are all title policies, all title insurance companies, all title companies, are they all created equal?
no, they're
I mean,
not.
like, I think of
Yeah.
homeowners insurance, right? It's like, well, I just look for the best rate, right? I
Right.
mean, they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah, so with title insurance, and I think with anything, but especially with title insurance, you get what you pay for.
Okay.
So there's not a huge difference.
Okay.
But there are differences, and whether it's a large financial backing, because there are different underwriters. So if you have one that's been in the business forever, like Fidelity is the oldest, so it's pretty safe to say that they're probably going to be around
Sure.
forever. But then you could have a new player in town that comes in, and who knows how long they'll be around for, or if they are prepared to weather the ups and downs of our market. So there are differences for sure.
So speaking of ups and downs of the market, I want to transition a little bit into just the ups and downs of the market. You and I talk about this just about every day when we see each other. Like, certain agents are busy, certain agents are really slow right now. We're just a weird time right now. You've been doing this a long time too, and I just had a couple of lenders in here that have been doing it 20 plus years, and I keep using just uncertain and complex, and I don't know what to make of this market. What are you kind of seeing out there as far as year over year? Are you guys up, down? What are you hearing from other agents in the industry? What are you seeing right now?
Yeah, so a lot of agents that I talk to, they don't know what to think right now. I mean, one minute they are busy, their phone rings and they've got all these buyers, but then they're in this position where there's a lack of inventory. So sometimes you don't even want to take on buyers,
Right.
especially if they're in that first-time home buyer price range, because you're just setting them up for disappointment and yourself. But in my 20 plus years, I've never seen anything like this. I mean, there are people that are absolutely, killing it. They're just going about their business. You're one of them. And then there are people that have done this forever, and they have had 2 transactions all year. I've seen several that have been teetering on retirement, just decide, what, this is time, because by the time the market comes back, I don't know, how old I'll be. It's hard to stay positive when the media keeps talking about, the interest rates going up, and, it's the highest they've been in how long, like 30 years,
Something
I think it
like
was.
that, yeah.
And that plays a huge role in consumers and how they feel and what they think and what they're comfortable doing. So, I just try to stay positive. I panic behind closed doors by myself. But I'm just trying to stay positive. And, there's a place for professionals. There's always a place for professionals. If you do a good job, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
We weathered storms, the 2008. I mean, that was not fun for anybody, but we all adapted. And I think that we've done a good job adapting. And I think we'll do so, over the next year. I personally do think 2025 will probably be our year again.
You think it'll take another year to kind of adjust and
I
figure
feel like
kind
it
of
will.
figure its way out type thing? Yeah, that's kind of the market we're in right now. Just kind of trying to figure out where it's going to go, right?
Yeah, well, look how fast it went up.
Right.
I mean,
and we all knew that wouldn't last, right?
we did, but it was like this weird euphoria that everybody was in. I mean, we had all these people that got licensed again.
Yeah.
We saw brokerages open up, title companies open up again. It was the same thing that happened before. It's like everyone has amnesia. And now we're seeing the same thing again. People are closing their doors. They're laying people off. They don't know when it's going to turn around, so they're not taking that chance.
So we're just cleansing a little bit, which is much needed, I think.
I absolutely. There are more, There are more licensed real estate agents than
transactions. Give me a statistic on the number of refis this year versus last year. Percentage-wise, where are you guys down on refis? Because refi, obviously, during the mortgage rate, 2.5-3% mortgage rate boom was probably a good part of your business. So how is that adjusted?
I've probably closed 10 of them this year.
And how many would you say you closed at the peak of the
Oh my
COVID
goodness.
boom?
I mean,
in a year.
Well, so first of all, my business is really not refinance. It never was
Yeah.
big on refinances, but even I that didn't do a ton of refinances still closed, hundreds during that 2020, 2021, whatever, 2022.
So multiple hundreds.
I mean, yeah, a
a
ton.
year. So you're doing 10 a month, and you're doing 10 a year this year.
Right now, I've probably closed about 10, and they're not, rate and term refinances.
Yeah.
They've all been taking somebody off of title,
Oh,
or
really?
yeah, there's always been a reason for it, or they're refinancing because they're going to buy something else with the equity. But yeah, no, nobody's coming to lower their rates.
Interesting.
So.
What do you wish the consumer knew about the title industry that they don't? Like, if they knew this, they'd understand that.
Well, I do wish that they would understand the importance. I mean, it's very important. There's a reason it exists, and it's to protect them.
Yeah.
Whether you're buying or selling, it's a protection. I wish that buyers knew that they should always purchase an owner's policy. I mean, if it's very cost effective. It's, a few $100s compared to the rest of their transaction, and it lasts forever. It's one of those things where it's better to have but not need, of course. But just, title companies, we're here to take care of people, be a neutral third party, and ensure that their transactions go off without a hitch.
And you are a neutral third party. I'm sure you have times where you want to pull your hair out in this industry because of us, our industry, the realtors. I'm sure you've seen a lot of dumb things. You know me, I think we probably share some of that same opinion that this industry is flawed and it's just at times a joke.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you and your professionalism and what you guys do for us and for the consumer. And like I said, I'm the face of the transaction, so I get credit for what you do.
Right.
So, I wish that the consumer knew more, like you said, how important your role is in the transaction, and probably more so important than ours. We just find them a house. You protect their interest in that house, right? Lender is going to buy a title insurance policy, and they've got interest in that house.
Right.
A buyer should too.
Absolutely.
So
well said.
thank you for being here. I
Yeah,
appreciate
my
it.
pleasure.
It's great information, and I'd love to have you back, and maybe we can share some of those stories about our industry. And
That would be
get a
fun,
laugh out of
actually.
it. Thanks.
Thank you, Wade.